Coach Tony, wrestling, podium performance, and today, fitness industry. Coming nice and close. No, coming even closer. Look me right in the eyes. We need to have a talk. Now, this is the beginning of a series that I'm going to be starting on a lot of the BS that goes on in the fitness industry, from lies to false endorsements to today's topic, client poaching and false claims. Now, this isn't anything new to the industry or business in general, but in this industry specifically, it's very much a relationship-driven industry. We build relationships, client to coach, coach to coach, client to the business, client to the facility even. And what ends up happening is we have kind of two groups of poachers. You've got the recently departed coach who's now left a facility to go start their own thing or to freelance now, or they were terminated, so they're newly departed. And then you also have the businesses who poach clients from other businesses in very predatory practices. And then the third thing I'm going to touch on today is the false claims, the liars, the fraudsters in our industry. So, remember to like and subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, and here we go. So let's start with the newly departed. These ones, that's the trainer who used to work at either a big box gym or a smaller private facility, and now they've gone and started their own thing, whether they're freelancing or they've now opened up their own spot. What a lot of them end up doing as they're leaving, well, first let's talk, why did they leave? A lot of times it's they just weren't happy. They feel like they could do more. They feel like they're underpaid and underappreciated, or they were fired. Now, all of these reasons are valid for leaving a place. And I'm never really going to blame the client for leaving with the person. The issue and the real scumbaggery, the real douchebag move is when a trainer has been fired, or as they're on their way out the door, they start to reach out to the clients of other trainers there, or the personal clients and friends of the owner. Now, that's a big no-no when you go after those of the owner, because they're going to know faster than you would ever expect, because those clients are most likely extremely loyal. They're going to be closer with the owner than you realize, and that owner is going to hear about it. Now, one of the issues that opens you up to is litigation, but I'm not even going to dive into that in this video, because one, we ain't talking law here, and two, that's out of my scope of practice. But what I am going to discuss is when you go and you're messaging these people, because one of the common practices that they're going to do is say, oh, you've been treated unfairly by your coach or your trainer, you're paying too much. Here, if you come with me, I'm going to train you for less. I'm going to offer you 50% off. I'm going to offer you all this extra stuff. I'm going to give you some products, whether it's supplements, all to entice that client out the door. Now, some clients are going to go simply because they might not necessarily be the happiest, or finances are tight. We live in a time right now where finances are tight for a lot of people. They still want the service. If it's geographically permitting, they may go with that trainer. I don't blame the client. I blame the trainer, because that is a very shady way of starting your business. And word will get around faster than wildfire. Now, this doesn't just stick to general population. This extends right out to the high-performance athletics world. I personally know of situations where former staff have left very good facilities in places like Phoenix, in Miami, in LA, Calgary, where the trainer that left started messaging the athletes to come go with them. Every single time it has been a male trainer. So he has then messaged them, enticed them with all these things, even offering to train the athlete for free. And I don't blame the athlete for leaving, because they need to be smart with their money. But when you start doing that to the person who employed you, paid you, put food on your table, shelter over your head, taught you, educated you, gave you the experience, that is where the issue is, because you are now stabbing the person who gave you a chance right in the back, and you didn't give a single fuck about it. You did it because you were selfish. You did it because you lack morals, you lack ethics, and you lack maturity. The sad thing is, I know people who have done this, and I wish they hadn't. But that's the way the industry is. You don't want to burn those types of bridges, because then you can't go back to it. A simple way of bypassing all this, outside of when you're terminated and you're fired, if you're leaving, speak to the business owner, speak to your boss, because it might even be your friend that employed you, and talk to them about it. Look, I'm going to start my own thing. I know these clients. I want to bring them with me. They like me. Can we work out a deal? It could be something that simple. You work out a deal with your almost now former employer. And this leads into the second type of client poachers, the businesses that try to poach from another business. Now, a lot of times, these are also going to be the types of business that are set up by the first type of individual. They're already a bit of a scumbag, so this is just their modus operandi. This is how they operate. This is how they build their business. One of the things that they will do is they'll break out their phone, they'll hop on their social media, they'll go look in their area, find their competition, go to their social media, see who they tag in their things, especially recently. Check out their stories. Oh, this person. Then they'll send them a little message, an introductory message after they've started following them. And then that will start to lead into, oh, how about you just come by my spot and let's have a talk. Let's figure out a way that I can help you out because, oh, I'm so much better than the other place. This is something I have had happen to my business on multiple occasions, and I'm very fortunate that not one of my clients left due to that stuff. I chalk it up to, I treat my clients well, I respect them, I don't overcharge them, and they see that I will bleed for them essentially to get them where they need to be. On the athlete side, this has happened more times than I wish it was possible by local businesses. This will get more into the third type, but you get these businesses where they say, oh, just like the first one, oh, come by, I'll get you to train with all these other pros that I have, and we're going to do all kinds of like fancy stuff that is kind of proprietary to what I do. Here's the truth, fitness industry. There's nothing really new out there. There hasn't been in a long time. But to sell people want to keep making things flashy for social media. In reality, there isn't really anything all that new. Now, in the bigger box gyms, one of the really screwed up tactics that is used between trainers even is bashing their colleague, the person that they share a staff room with, to their client, to try to get that client to now flip and train with them. Like, what are you doing? You're on the same team. Like, you're both trying to help the same people. Now, how is that trainer ever going to trust you? How's the business supposed to trust you if that's what you're going to do? When I started my career at a big box gym, I saw that every single day in 2012, and I was disgusted at the time by that, and seeing it still happening, I'm more disgusted. See, sadly, I can actually say that I know people who have engaged in both of these situations. Leaving a business and taking clients with them and then messaging clients, I've advised a few people not to do it, and they still went ahead and did it. And sadly to say, a few of those individuals are basically persona non grata in the industry with a lot of other people who are a little higher up. They didn't see the long game, they just looked at the short game. That's a big issue in our industry. Everyone's always looking out for the short game, especially post beer bug pandemic. Everyone's so focused on the short-term gains that they're going to make in terms of business and whatnot. But they're not thinking about, if I screw this person over, what's that going to mean for me in 3 months? All right, so that covers our types of client poachers. The newly departed trainer and the business that's trying to undercut you. Then we get into what's one of the most disgusting parts of the industry. The fraud, the thief, the liar, the false claimant. Now, why am I being so blunt when I say it like that? It's because these are coaches and trainers out there, and we're going to be looking primarily at the high performance sports world, but it also jumps right back into personal training. These are the people who claim results that are not theirs. We've all seen it. A colleague of mine, former owner and the founder of Ultimate Performance, has probably had this happen with this specific transformation hundreds of times, where other facilities and businesses use it to market their services despite that person never going to their facility or even being in their country. And then on the strength and conditioning side, every coach wants to be associated with top athletes. The problem is many coaches are not actually equipped. They don't have the fundamental skills to actually be able to take care of that athlete to get them to the result. Because a lot of times, as I said before, their ego gets in the way. Instead of parking the ego at the door as a coach, they're using this athlete to boost their ego. It has nothing to do with our egos. It's about making that athlete better. It's about getting that athlete the result, getting that athlete a better contract onto a higher caliber team, onto a collegiate team, pro team, international team, national team stuff. You have to do what it takes. At times it means doing more work than you're actually paid for. Or, speaking from personal experience, even coaching for free at times, because that's what you gotta do. I've taken on clients that I've sponsored to help them out. When I first started in the industry, I literally worked for free with some athletes. Why? I wanted to help. It's not about us, the strength and conditioning coach. We are a very small piece of the puzzle. But too many of us, our ego gets in the way, and then we start making false claims. We start saying we train certain athletes. This occurred with a very well-known coach out of the European Union, and he was exposed for it by a mentor of his, a very well-known coach, where he took a picture with Canadian mixed martial arts legend, one of the GOATs, Georges St. Pierre, and then claimed to train him. Sorry, but Faraz Zarabi out of TriStar in Montreal trained him in MMA, and he was seeing Pierre Wall for some of his strength and conditioning and doing a lot of gymnastics and calisthenics stuff on his own. He wasn't seeing a guy in the EU for strength and conditioning. There are also several people in Montreal who are more than competent for doing it and are better than the other option. And then there's another situation of a well-known speed coach who's become a bit of a speed guru, and he's sold himself to multiple teams and organizations as the go-to guy. But here's the weird thing. His expertise is speed, but he hasn't produced an Olympic sprinter. The sport of speed, when there has been Olympic sprinters that come out of where the person originates from. So there's a disconnect here. These are where we run into the fraudsters, the false claims. We gotta stop doing this in the industry. When you're taking credit for somebody else's work, you're just a piece of shit in my eyes. You didn't do the work with that person to get the result that that client or athlete earned. You had nothing to do with it, so piss off with doing that type of stuff. You got people claiming credit for writing that other people did. Example happened to me back in 2021. The company that I had previously written for then said that I committed plagiarism. And if the person who said that sees this video, ain't karma a bitch? Yes, I'm bitter about that and a little angry still. When someone says you did something that you know you didn't do, it kind of grates at you for a long time. One of the issues with always taking credit for other people's work is eventually word will get around that you did that. And then you become known as the liar and a fraud. And these are a few things that we need to get away from in this industry. We need to make it better. We need to improve upon our own standards and morals of actual operation. We need to start taking what we do seriously as if we were lawyers and accountants. We need perhaps much better and harsher barriers to entry. Instead of a weekend course and an IG, maybe you need to actually have some skin in the game in terms of actual education, multiple courses, and some experience in an internship before you actually are allowed to even touch a client, like what happens in other industries. Now I digress. The main purpose of this was to talk about the poaching of clients. We gotta stop doing it. There's enough people out there who need our help. Trying to take business from another person and food off of their table isn't a good way to do it. Now, if you end up taking food off their table because word gets around that you are good and that people are coming to see you, that's a different story. That's a competence thing. That is about merit. That is not about thievery. We got to stop having the scumbags in this industry. It's too rampant. It's time that we start rooting it out. Call people out, even if you know them. Call them out on it so that they stop doing it. And if they can't stop doing it, then eventually we'll end up pushing them out of the industry. Some other parts of this series we're going to be diving into, like the weird supplement endorsements. So many trainers, influencers, doctors even are endorsing these days, as well as some other weird things that go on in our industry that we can look at and say, that's some bullshit. Anyways, Coach Tony, Wrestling Podium Performance, embrace your potential.